So, what was wrong with Final Reckoning? It's hard to say, because it definitely wasn't perfect. But if you're going to be a moviegoer who goes to see it, you might as well have the tools to talk about it. It's kind of hard to talk about what it does wrong, because it does so many things so well, and does so many different, unusual, rare things so well, that you might just get confused and think the rare thing is the thing that's wrong with it. One thing I've seen already buzz of is people saying there's too much exposition, too much expository dialogue. And there is such a thing as too much of that, but this film bends over backwards to make it interesting. It has multiple characters say it. It has it be in the context of briefings. Most often, the reason it's there is to provide an understanding of what's going to happen so that when the action sequence unfolds, you're on the edge of your seat and you know what's at stake. The film has a lot of it, but that's not why it fell a little short. The main problems are threefold, and it's too late to really change any of them, but it's still an interesting exercise to talk about why. The first and biggest thing is it didn't ground itself in the tropes of the previous entries that helped it feel more familiar and more real. The previous films, especially the last few films, while still getting increasingly fantastical, still had roots in real espionage and real espionage fiction, in its locations, in its villains, in its twists, in doing things like just having characters be at a party or arguing about work skills. Just a scene of a character getting an alleged Uber Eats did a lot to make it feel like a real world with real people. This film, for perhaps a number of reasons, has to move so fast that it doesn't have any moments where it just breathes. Even something like Ethan Hunt alone in his safe house eating a sandwich before he started the main plot could have done a lot to just make it feel more like genre fiction. The secret agent alone in his safe house eating crappy food because he can't go out. And because of that, it feels less like it's on your level and more like it's trying to pull you onto its level. And a good blockbuster meets you where you are. Secondly, and second most important, Ethan doesn't have a strong arc. He's always doing a lot, that's true, and he definitely has something he wants, but it's not strictly present. The last two films especially had strong arcs for him. Fallout had an arc about just getting along with people again, and it had mature moments like him talking with his ex-wife, or getting together with his new girlfriend. Dead Reckoning had one that was surprisingly mature, about being middle-aged and at a point where you start worrying about things you're going to lose instead of things you're going to gain. But this didn't have one. It had lots of opportunities to have one, but it didn't quite get there. And I think fans are noticing that as well, even if they don't realize it. And third, despite being allegedly the last Mission Impossible film, the story didn't really lean into the power of what that could be. It certainly felt like the last film in that it had lots of flashbacks and callbacks to all the other films, and that gave it power, definitely. But it didn't follow through on that with a strong central theme informed by that. And it's strange because there are hints of a useful theme throughout. It could be as simple as, even if you're the very best, your luck runs out eventually. Everyone who's seen it can think of a moment that echoes that. It could be, no matter how good you are, eventually you get too old to keep playing this game and you need to walk away. There's a lot of ways they could do that while still making everyone look very cool. Or it could have been, considering how high they've raised the stakes, a story about quitting while you're at the top. They could have ended, and it could have been a theme of, well, we did it. And maybe that sounds crazy, but there is such a thing as reaching the height of your profession. They could really just come to an ending where it's like, well, we did our jobs, we did destroy every outlying, terrible possible threat to the end of the world. I guess that's it. We're Jordan. We won the championship 6 times. There's nothing else to do. That would also dovetail nicely with everything else in the series and flatter the characters. But it doesn't do that either. Strangely, it almost seems to shy away from language that it's going to be the last one, despite everything else it does. And while the work is cool enough that you'd want to see more stuff like it, it's hard to believe the franchise could keep building momentum after this point, especially after marketing this film as the final reckoning so aggressively. Overall, these are kind of quibbles. It wasn't perfect, but that's okay. It set a very high standard, and sometimes it didn't meet it. Considering how many demands they're juggling, especially considering things like how it got disrupted by COVID, how its predecessor got disrupted by COVID, the writer's strike, the actor's strike. It's amazing that it's good as it is. And if you came away thinking, I wish they didn't make so many references to things I didn't understand, well, maybe that's a sign that you should watch all the other movies.